Now that we have a lot of combinational logic basics in our toolkit, it's time to start looking at how we can put these together to make different types of building block circuits that are useful for digital design. So in this section, we're going to talk about a multiplexer, a demultiplexer, decoder, and encoders. Those are sort of dual operations. One, the demux undoes the mux, and the encoder undoes the decoder. So they're naturally coupled together. We're going to also look at a comparator. We're going to look at a parity circuit. We're going to look at a BCD-to-seven-segment decoder. And we're going to look at an unusual device called a tri-state device. So all these things are useful for digital design. And you can think of them as building block circuits. This is not an all-inclusive list. And in fact, we're leaving out one of the most important building block circuits, and that's the adder. That deserves a section of its own. Okay, so the idea here is that sometimes when you're sketching out a digital design, it's nice to have a schematic to help you think about how everything gets laid out, because these are, after all, circuits. So if you can lay them out in a schematic diagram, it helps you organize your thoughts and make better designs. So think of each of these as having some type of symbol. With a multiplexer, this shape distinctive symbol with the this kind of trapezoidal shape is very common. And so when you see that shape, you can recognize it. These others, those are, this tri-state is a common symbol, but the others are just blocks that represent that, hey, we're going to do this as a schematic. All right, so when we do these in this particular section of the book, we're going to cover things in a certain cadence. All right, so what I want to do here is I want to be able to go over 4 different things. One is the functionality. What does it actually do? So once you know the input and output relationships, you can basically treat this as a black box and count on that functionality to work in your circuit. So the next thing that I want you to be able to do is, it's one thing to know about a multiplexer and how they work. It's another to actually have some intuition or some feel for how you build this with gate level circuits or even transistor level circuits. All right, so that you have an idea that, oh yeah, this is real. This is something you can build with an actual circuit. Okay, so we're going to do that for each of these. And then it's nice to know some simple applications or common applications for these types of circuits. So we'll cover some of that briefly. These will come up later as we go through the course when we actually do some digital logic designs. And then because this is a modern course in digital logic, it's important to have Verilog involved. So I want you to be able to take a look at probably a behavioral description of how each of these types of building block circuits work in Verilog. All right, so that's the overview of the section. We're going to jump in and start going through these 8 blocks in this section of the book.